I buy faulty electronic items, attempt to fix them and sell them for a profit. This right here, this whole thing is Sally's spectacular spreadsheet where I log said profit or loss. And even though we put an estimated profit of last episode of £35.35, we still haven't worked out an actual profit because the item hasn't yet sold. I'm hoping I can update the last item that we worked on at the end of this recording. But so far, we're in the green of £35.35. The target for the season is £2,000. Welcome your faces back to season 2, episode 2 of the series Profit or Loss. What have you got for us today, Joey? In front of me, I have an Xbox Series X. Now it states here that it's a black screen, so I'm assuming something to do with the HDMI circuit. And fun fact, I only paid, I say only, I think it's a good rate, £140 for this faulty console. And if we look very closely, we can see that it has indeed not been opened before. First things first, we're going to make sure that it actually powers on and verify that it's definitely got a black screen. So plugging it in, just to show you before I continue, the reason why I'm plugging the HDMI lead in is because the HDMI port itself looks okay and feels okay. Push in the power button. Does it turn on? It does turn on, wicked. And it looks like it stays on, which is also really, really good. I'm just seeing if I get the display on the screen. And what else is going to be really important is I need to make sure that this actually stays on. Good so far. Wait, do we get a disc? No. I definitely should have had a display by now. So I'm actually going to try and put it into safe mode as well, just in case we have a faulty SSD. I'm just holding down all the buttons, waiting until I hear a second beep. That should mean that it's gone into safe mode. Doesn't sound like I can get it into safe mode. Definitely not giving me a second beep. I'm sure of that. Maybe if I wonder it is a faulty SSD, then let me try again. Yeah, definitely not going into safe mode. No safe mode. Doesn't beep twice to indicate that it's going into safe mode either. Maybe it is faulty SSD. I'm going to have to take it apart and I think the first place to look is going to be on the SSD, which unfortunately means I have to disconnect everything anyway. But I'll plug that into the PC and we'll see if it's healthy or not. For the sake of profit or loss, I was obviously hoping that this would be a relatively simple HDMI port swap. But as with this series, nothing is ever really that simple. Let's take it apart. Now I'm down to board basics. I'm going to quickly cast my eye over the HDMI port and just double check that we are 100% solid. And then we'll look at the SSD, which is actually under this cover here. So head over to the microscope. We do. I mean, that looks spotless, right? There's nothing wrong with that HDMI port. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the display factor on this, the actual HDMI circuit itself, I can't speak for everything. For example, the retimer IC, which is here, that could be faulty, or it could even be the ESD filter, which is on the back of the board. But I mean, all the pins look absolutely solid as well. I'd find it difficult to believe that it is a display issue. And from the symptoms that I've tested at the start of the video, I really feel like it's going to be something with the SSD, which is unfortunate because these are very expensive to replace if you don't have donors. Luckily, we have donors. Now, where it gets really interesting is if the SSD on this board is faulty and I'm unable to duplicate the data that's on the device, we're going to have an issue because there is a hidden partition, which is around about 1 GB on these SSDs that are bound to the console. So if that particular piece of data is corrupt or faulty, and I just take it and transfer it over to another SSD, that one's going to be faulty as well. Phil from The Coder actually recently done a video on this topic, and I'll leave that down below in the description. But basically, it really, really sucks. If you ever want to try and replace an SSD on an Xbox Series X or Series S, and you don't have that 1 GB hidden partition that's locked to the console, you're going to be in trouble. So again, we just quickly remove this shield. It shouldn't be locked down too tight, to be honest. They never really are. Just be able to unclip the cover just like this. And now just go ahead and remove the screw and lift up the SSD. Plug it into the PC and see how old this really is. Before we do that though, let's go under the scope and just check and see if I can see anything obvious. That's just standard like epoxy stuff to cover those components. That looks okay. The sweat that you see here, the little droplets of water, is actually from the thermal putty that is on the inside of the cover. They've got it on the outside, they've got it on the inside, and it's just used for cooling essentially. But sometimes when it gets really hot, it can sweat, and this can happen. Don't know if this is conductive, to be honest. I doubt it is. I'm not too sure if that will ever cause any sort of issue, but yeah, I mean, everything looks okay on the board. I highly, highly doubt the fact that we'll have any shorts here. But the meter's in continuity mode. Wait, that might be short. This cap here might be shorted. Look. If I measure here and here in continuity, oh no, sorry, it's 20 ohms. It's 20 ohms. You can't actually see, but it is 20 ohms. So maybe it is okay. That's 35 ohms. So this is screaming to me low impedance rather than an actual short to ground. Yeah, this side is actually ground and this side is 21 ohms. Those ones seem to be fine as well. Now what I do is I get my Sabrent M.2 cloner for the NVMe SSDs. Fun fact, I've only used this maybe once or twice, and it was to clone a motherboard SSD. Actually, it was nothing to do with an Xbox Series X. I bought it with the intended purpose of fixing Xbox Series X's, but that's not actually been the case. I think this sent me back around about £120 or so. If you're interested, I'll leave an affiliated link down below. We are going to simply, I say simply, I hope it's simple. We're going to plug in the small M.2 down here. The little rubber grommets that come with it, actually, there's no hole for one this short, so you can't really hold it down with anything. I was using some foam, but I don't know where that's gone. Plug in some good old 5-volt DC and plug in USB-C to the PC. And then hopefully we should hear a... I don't hear a... I was kind of waiting to hear a dub-ba-da-bum. Now, it does say that A is populated, so it is recognizing that there is something in the Sabrent drive, but I can't hear anything go off. So I'm going to load up Crystal Disk Info now, which, by the way, is a tool that is able to read drives. And if I go over to Crystal Disk Info, it's not showing. I've got my F drive, G, D, and C, which is what's on my PC itself. So it's not showing up. I've powered it off, and I'm going to power it on. You see if that does anything. I can't hear the Windows tone or anything. Now, I've got two of these bad boys, both, I believe, from Xbox Series X's. Do they work? I've got no idea. But just to show you what this theoretically should do, if I turn it off, let's unplug it. If I take out this one, now I really best not get confused here. And I'm going to plug in the donor one that I've got, just to show you what should technically happen. I hope this now works and my cloner isn't broken. So we go back over to Crystal Disk. I press the power on now. Eventually, geez. Scared me. We're going to click rescan. And then I hope, there we go. So we've got L, and this is a 1 terabyte. So the issue that I've got now, I've just formatted that one. The one that was in the Xbox Series X that we're looking at today. I'm really hoping that I can copy the data because it can't be read on the PC, and that upsets me a little bit. I'm kind of concerned that the cloner isn't going to pick up the data and therefore it's not going to copy anything over. However, the good thing is that when I enter the one that we're working on, which is this one, it does pick up and register that there is an A. So I'm going to put this one that's in here, that is my spare, I'm going to put that in B, and then the one from the Xbox I'm going to put in A, and then I'm going to hold down this button and hopefully it's going to clone this to this one. That's the only shot we've got with this, by the way. That's it. Here we go. Plugging it in. I don't need to have USB-C hooked up for this, by the way. So I'm going to push the power. There we go. So we've got A and we've got B. So it's recognizing both of the SSDs. Now I just need to hold down the clone button. Is this going to work? I really hope so. Here we go. Or are we just going to replicate the issue that we have on the Series X to this new SSD? Hold down the clone button. I can't remember what happens. I don't know if we get any like flashing or anything like that. Nothing. That's me holding down the button as well. So I actually think that it's trying to read it and it's going, no, there's nothing to read. And just like that, believe it or not, just like that, we have an Xbox Series X that is waste. There's nothing we can do. Absolutely nothing. And the really annoying thing is that this Xbox has never been opened before. It's in relatively good condition. The outside chassis looks okay. Sure, there's a little bit of dust on the inside, but nothing that the average person wouldn't have. And I genuinely believe that because the SSD is now a little bit old, it's failed. And you can't do anything. You can't gather the data from that SSD because it's gone kaput. If Microsoft just allowed it that you could put another SSD in without that hidden partition, this would be fixed. It would be safe from the e-waste and somebody might potentially get another 5-6 years out of the console. But now we can't do anything. Just to make sure I'm not doing this incorrect, I'm just holding down again to see, but I'm pretty sure this is the end of the road, which is really, really annoying. We're not going to give up there though. I am just going to check this under the scope and see again. I'm going to measure it with the one that I've got that is good and see if we've got any different readings. Perhaps because it's not being recognized, there is an issue with a component rather than the actual data that's on the IC. Right, so now I've got this stock one here. I just quickly want to check and make sure that, so we get 22 ohms here. So that's the same as what I was reading on the other one. Am I right in thinking this is ground? I'm assuming it's ground. I think it is, because here we get a reading of ground and here we get a reading of, wait a minute, that's 10 ohms. Why is that only 10 ohms now? I think it's climbing, so I think it is 22. About 14. So again, back over to here. Pretty sure I just checked every single one of them, and this is the same, isn't it? Around about 22. Yeah, so this is the Xbox Series X SSD. I'm over on the thermal camera now, and I'm going to push the power button, okay? So this is our regular M.2 SSD, okay? So this is a stock one. Can you see how there's one area that's heating up, and that is this chip here. Notice how the chip at the bottom isn't getting any heat at all. We're at 31 degrees, probably in the corner, maybe a tiny weeny little bit, but more so this chip here, and it's just been recognized by the PC. There's nowhere else on the IC that's getting hot. This is now the Series X one, so I'm going to push the power button, and instantly you can see we've got this one getting hot, which is supposedly meant to happen, but we've got this one down here which is reaching about 34, 35. Now that isn't the same as the other one. It's not a massive difference. It's about 3-4 degrees, but it's something, you know? So I think maybe that bottom chip down here is where we've got our fault. Could be wrong, could be this one up here as well, but there's nothing else getting hot on this SSD other than this bottom chip here. So now it begs the question, actually, what do we get on the Series X SSD going into this chip? Just down here on the corner, what do we get? We get 0.32. Now let's test on this one, which is our known working one. Probe here because this is ground, and we're testing this point here. 0.35. So we have a little bit of difference. I don't think heat's going to play a massive part here, but it's definitely a tiny bit different. I'm just going to compare the two and see if I can find any massively different readings here. What really doesn't help is the fact they've got this stupid epoxy here that needs to come off if I want to try and do anything with that IC. I'm assuming it's BGA, but again, I think they've put stuff underneath to stop it, like you'd find on MacBooks, etc. This one, fine. We don't have anything underneath. This little chip here, but this main one, yeah, I'm sure it has to be BGA because there's too many. Could be wrong. Might not even be BGA. It might just be a MOSFET of some sort. I'm gonna have a look and see if I can find anything on this chip. After a Google, there is nothing. Absolutely nothing, because it could just be that this chip itself is faulty. There's a slight different diode reading on this cap, and that's the only thing that I can pull. And again, the proof's in the pudding that the other one doesn't get hot and this one does get hot. That's the only two differences I can make out of this. Well, I'm just gonna see if I can scrape some of this epoxy off and see if I can get underneath this chip or something. This is currently 300 degrees, which I don't know if it's going to be enough, but I'm doing the best of the job, so I'm going to have to increase it a little bit. Well, I'm going to see if I can get it off. Every single other component, by the way, is liquefied except for this one. I can't even push it off. I'm really having to wiggle this. I can't get it off. I've had to go up to 400 degrees Celsius, which on a PCB like this is definitely not advisable. But I can't get the chip off. There's not a chance. There's literally no way. I'm gonna look at frying the whole board before I actually end up getting that off. Again, I don't know if it's BGA underneath or not. I've got no idea. Seem to have some solder balls, but I don't know if that's from other components necessarily. Get rid of those solder balls, so I don't want them flying about and being a risk. Even though this is not working, you know, just rendered absolutely useless because of the SSD. Annoyingly, I'm simply just gonna have to put this back into the console, and my best bet is going to be to just sell it. It came with a HDMI cable and a power cable and the box, so I might be able to get the same what I paid for it, or maybe even a little bit more. I will go ahead and explain that the SSD is most probably fried with the attempted fixes that I've done to it. I'm obviously going to include this with the console just in case some magician out there is able to fix this. Without further ado, let's move on to our second item, and I really hope we're not going to have the same sort of issue as that one. All right, so next console, an Xbox Series X that I paid £140 for. Exactly the same, so I bought two of them for £280. This one is actually in even better condition. Now what it says is no Wi-Fi. I am really hoping it is something as simple as a Wi-Fi board needs swapping out, but I've seen videos on occasions which it can end up being the South Bridge. I hope that is not the case. So again, let's just make sure and verify that it powers on and that we can duplicate the issue of it having no Wi-Fi. Power on. Okay, power's on. You can see the light there. There we go. Okay, took its time, but there's the display. Oh, I've just thought, actually, does the Bluetooth work? So let me plug batteries into this controller and see if I can sync up the controller. Okay, controller, hold down the sync button down here. And that's going to start flashing, right? Good. And this one, this is flashing. Are they going to pair? They do. So Bluetooth's okay. It's just Wi-Fi. Interesting. So let's go skip sign in. Put up the settings. It would be amazing if this just worked, you know? Network, manage, set up. Okay, well, my SSID is there. I'm going to see if I can connect to it. Take off the webcam so you can see this part. I've just entered the password. It's checking the connection. It says all good. And it says let's update. So I'll do the update. I'll do the entire update actually through the Wi-Fi just to make sure it holds its connection and that it's secure. Is it possible that the business that sold me this were having a bad Wi-Fi day? Perhaps. Maybe for whatever reason it couldn't find their SSID, but I've literally just booted up, found the Wi-Fi, connected to the Wi-Fi, and it's doing an update. What I will do is, if this does go through and work, an update, and I can maybe play a game or download a game and just make sure that I get about 30 minutes Wi-Fi out of it, I will completely reset the console and just make sure that it finds the Wi-Fi again. But so far, so good. Okay, so I've come across an issue. It's actually faulty. It says check your connection. Connect to the Xbox network. But if I go to the network and I test the network, and it says checking connection, can't connect. Okay, so it's saying let's try a wired connection. That is interesting to me. I want to see if it works with Ethernet, because worst case scenario, we can sell this console and just say it only works via Ethernet. But I do want to try and replace the Wi-Fi board, etc. Let's just plug in the Ethernet. So we go check again. Maybe that's going to work. I'm assuming it is. Unplug the network cable. You chose a wireless network connection. Oh, then why tell me to put the Ethernet in? What? And there we go. Now we don't have any wireless networks. Okay. Now we've got a fault. So I'm going to test it now with the Ethernet. Now that we're off that screen, just see if that works. All services are available. That seems to be okay. Oh, wait a minute. UPnP not successful. What's UPnP? It says that UPnP is Universal Plug and Play, is what your Xbox uses to set up your router for multiplayer gaming and chat. And it's saying that I need to change a bunch of settings with my router, but I know that my router is okay. Okay, so I'm in, I'm online. It's all good, I think. So Ethernet seems to be okay. It says UPnP not successful, but then below that it says all services are available. I think that might just be an error. There we go. We can see it's 1 gig down and around about 60 meg up, so that's all good. I am just going to install Rocket League to make sure that the multiplayer aspect does work, because that would be an issue. Okay, well, what's really good is that I didn't once disconnect. So with Ethernet plugged in, the game's downloaded pretty quick and it's fully downloaded. I found a match pretty quick as well. That's good. Okay, and I'm in. So multiplayer seems to be absolutely fine. No issues there. I'm in competitive, which probably isn't the play right now. I guess what's kind of like nice about this is I can sell this for a profit already, because I could just say that the Ethernet works and the Wi-Fi doesn't. So somebody will buy that. It will be cheaper than obviously a fully working one. So we know that Ethernet works. I'm kind of hopeful as well, because what that means is that the actual circuit for internet access is supposedly okay. In my head, I'm like, whatever controller it is for internet access is working. So I'm hoping even more so now that it is just the board in this console. So I'm going to strip it down, hopefully replace that board, and we might be good to go. Fun fact, I believe this is the accessory antenna cable, and this one, which is under the power supply, is the Wi-Fi one. I couldn't remember which one was which. So we do have to take apart the whole console to get to the Wi-Fi antenna board. Like I said, I'm just hoping it's this board here, which is the Wi-Fi board, that's gone faulty. Heading over to the scope, can I see any damage or imperfections perhaps? I mean, that cap looks a little bit discolored, but seems to be okay for the most part. The worrying thing is that I don't think there's much that can actually go wrong with this board, you know? I don't think we're going to have any shorts on it, because if we did have any shorts, it would be a case that it just wouldn't work at all. But obviously it's an intermittent issue, isn't it? So I'm just going to replace this board and see if that fixes our issue. I've put it back together enough in the case to test, because I didn't want it overheating, so I've put the fan back on. That's the only reason why it's back in the case. So we go to power it on. It's remembered this controller, by the way. Interestingly as well, it's remembered the SSID, even though I've swapped out the Wi-Fi board. Interesting. So that information must be stored somewhere else instead of the actual small Wi-Fi board itself. Oh, my bad. No, that isn't the case. It says not connected. It must have just signed me into my profile automatically. So let's see if we can set one up. It says connected. All services are available as well. But remember, it had done this last time. Let's test the stats to see what download and upload we get. There we go. So we get 211 down. We get 91 up. I'm actually testing the multiplayer connection now. I didn't see that was an option previous, so I'm just trying that. I don't know what details I'm actually going to get here, if any at all. I mean, it's taken a while. I don't know if this test usually takes a long time. What? I can't get a Teredo IP... What's that? Never heard of that in my life. Am I still connected? I mean, it says I'm still connected. I want to do exactly what I did previous, which is take my profile off and then re-add it, because that's when it crashed last time. But everything seems to be all right, other than that multiplayer thing. In fact, before I remove my account, I am just going to see if I can play a Rocket League game online. Clearly don't have multiplayer issues because I'm in a game with other people. Hold on. And my controller is also disconnecting. My controller has reconnected, but I've been booted out. Yep, and I'm not connected to Xbox Live anymore. And if I go set up wireless network, my SSID is no longer there. So it's not the Wi-Fi board, unfortunately. Now, I only have one other option. This is the board that contains the South Bridge on the Xbox Series X. And this board is replaceable. You just need to change over this little IC here, which is extremely sensitive. And it's also recommended to heat from the bottom of the board. Issue being is that I don't think I have any boards that I can replace with this one. The ones that I do have are different revisions. You see how they've all got the writing on, and you have the connector, and it's got the 2 pull tabs here, whereas this board has the pull tab in the center. That's talking about availability that I've got down here. I'm actually going to go into my loft, ruffle through some boxes and see if I've got any of this kind. Issue being is that I need to take them all the way apart to see if that is going to be the case. It's really annoying. I've searched high and low upstairs and they're all just chassis. So all of my motherboards for those faulty consoles are down here and I don't have a board for it. So I'm now faced with a decision. I need to quickly... I mean, I played a little bit of Rocket League when the Ethernet was plugged in earlier, and I downloaded the whole game and it seemed to be absolutely fine. So what I'll need to do is give it a little bit more of a test sell it as faulty, but just say the Ethernet works, but the Wi-Fi isn't working. I'll definitely be able to net more than 140 for that. And if I can get £140 for the one that I wasn't able to fix, we should technically be in a profit. But I need to go test and confirm that it's actually okay with Ethernet for sure. Truth of the matter is as well, I could go ahead and change the South Bridge because I think it's the South Bridge that is faulty when it comes to the Wi-Fi, but I don't have the necessary tools for it, to be honest with you. This is quite a thin board and I don't want to absolutely wreck it with heat when it comes to removing and replacing this. So yeah, really actually kind of sucks. I'll be back in a minute to actually confirm that it's okay with Ethernet. As I'm putting this back together as well, I'm kind of thinking about if there's anything more that I can do, but because it's such an intermittent issue, I can't scour the board and just find something that's faulty because initially it works. So it'll be so hard to try and find what the issue actually is, but I do believe it is the South Bridge. I have also just swapped out the accessory board as well to see if that is going to fix it. I doubt it, but it's worth a try, hey? It's not okay with Ethernet. So much so now that the console is just randomly shutting off, so I definitely think it's the South Bridge. Also, the controller was disconnecting every 3 to 4 minutes, so something's definitely going on. I wasn't able to play FIFA, I wasn't able to do anything. I need to hard reset this console now and just sell it as faulty. So I'll probably be lucky to get 140 for it, as probably the other one. We've most definitely made a loss on episode number 2. The horrible thing about that is that both of these consoles had not been opened before. So they both had their warranty sticker intact and I haven't been able to fix either of them. But I did say at the beginning of this one with the Wi-Fi that I've known it before to be the South Bridge and not just a simple case of replacing the board. And the SSD issues speak for themselves. I thought that SSD issue was, they said it was a black screen. I thought it was going to be HDMI port. If anything, we've just been very unlucky, but that is the name of the game and this series. So it is what it is. Now I'll go with the estimate. So we're talking 280 for cost, parts obviously 0. Sell price, I'm going to say worst case 130 and 130. So I'll say 260. Minus the eBay fees is going to give us a gross profit of minus £43.40. And there we go. I've got Xbox Series X. They're both in episode 2. Obviously I don't have an eBay listing just yet. I can't update the actual eBay price, which is here in this column for the Nintendo Switch like that we had last episode because it still hasn't sold. But postage for both of these as well is going to be £8 each. So roughly along with this gross loss of 40 quid combined, we're going to have the 16 as well. Estimated profit minus £43.40. I've just conditional formatted that as well so I can see that I've failed. This is probably going to really suck actually. The hours worked between the two Xboxes is going to be around about 4 hours. You're probably thinking, Joe, where'd you get 4 hours from? It was like the testing and waiting around for the console to reset, install games, etc. So I'm kind of taking that into account, you know. So I'm going to say around about 4 hours. So again, just show you an example of what potentially might be happening here. If I say it's going to be minus 50, yeah, our hourly profit is going to be wrecked. And the reason why this says over here minus £19.97 for actual profit, even though there's nothing in the actual profit, is because our total for postage is £19.97. So yeah, we are in the negative at the moment by quite a bit on episode 2. But it's okay, it's okay. I'm waiting on a profit here, and that should maybe give us a little bit of a green. Apologies as always that I wasn't able to fix something. Sometimes it's just the way that it goes. If you kind of enjoyed what you saw, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I'll leave the season 2 playlist up here just in case somebody's watching in the future, and you can go back to episode 1 and start from there. I hope you have a good rest of your day, week, weekend, whatever it is for you, and I shall see you as always in the next one with hopefully a little bit of a profit. Peace.